Hello and welcome to Payoff Pitch, exclusively available on the Action Network's YouTube channel. Brendan Glasheen with a couple of Action Network baseball gurus. We have Anthony Dabbundo, BJ Cunningham, 10-game MLB slate on this Thursday, including a slew of afternoon games. Love to see it. We'll get you set with picks and best bets. That's why you're here. As always, feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and we'll get to as many as possible throughout the course of the program. Want to get this out there, though, first, to keep you engaged there in the chat. We are going to give you an opportunity to get involved in a contest. Contests are fun. It's a giveaway. In the chat, we simply want you to tell us one player. You can only choose one. Choose one player that is going to go yard today, hit a home run. And the first person to correctly pick a player today that hits a home run will win $50, courtesy of the Action Network. Only one guess per person. So don't go spamming the chat. So as Brian Johnson did in our YouTube chat, Salvador Perez is his pick today. Good job, Brian. We got your pick. That's all you got to do. We don't need to see it 18 times. That's plenty. One guess per person, and we'll remind you again later in the show. We'll start with best bets. BJ Cunningham, how are you today? Give us your best bet. Get us started on a good note.
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for asking. I love the Diamondbacks Nationals over 9 runs at -110. You have Zach Davies taking on Josh Rogers. This is the worst pitching matchup of the entire afternoon. I mean, Zach Davies made 32 starts for the Cubs last year and had a 6.3 expected ERA. His walk per 9 rate was over 4.5. Opponents had a 295 expected batting average against him. He's a soft tossing righty that likes to keep the ball down in the zone. His main 2 pitches are a sinker and a changeup. He goes to him about 85% of the time, but both pitches have not been effective at all through his first 2 starts, allowing over a 360 expected weighted on base average. The Nationals last season had a +32 run value against both sinkers and changeups. So this is a good matchup for Washington's lineup. Josh Rogers, on the other hand, he's been fine through his first 2 starts, but this is a guy who had a 5.6 expected ERA last year and a 1.77 home run per 9 rate. I mean, Fangraphs, Zips projections has him as a 5.9 ERA type pitcher, and opponents hitting 293 against him this year. He's predominantly a fastball slider pitcher. He's been decent with both pitches this year, but Arizona, obviously they were one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball last year, but one thing they did do well is they hit lefties. They were 13th in weighted on base average and hard hit percentage. So I have 10.4 runs projected for this. We've seen totals be a little bit lower than expected early on this season with offense being down and colder temperatures. But this total, I believe, is way too low for these 2 starting pitchers. Even our baseball genius, Sean Zarilla, has 9.8 runs projected for this game. So this is one of my favorite picks on the board today and one of the best overs in the last few days. So over 9 runs for 2 of the worst starting pitchers of the day.
Arizona had a great game yesterday, 11 runs, and that number easily got there, 11-2 the final score. And this is with the Pirates and the Cubs, this is the highest total on the slate today. Anthony Dabbundo, what do you like today for a best bet to get us started?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Texas Rangers as they look to avoid getting swept by Seattle. Left-hander Marco Gonzalez taking the ball for the Mariners. Not a particularly big fan of Marco. He did have an impressive outing in his last go-out. He had 7 innings, 1 earned against Houston, a lineup that has a lot of success against lefties. So that was pretty impressive and pretty eye-opening. But I'm not going to let one start change my opinion of Gonzalez. We saw in his first outing against Minnesota, another lineup that projects well against lefties. He allowed 6 runs in 2 innings. So not too high on Marco. Last year, his xERA was 5.05 despite a 3.9 ERA. And then this year, again, we've seen him have a 3 ERA to start the year, but his FIP is 6.85 and his xERA is 5.9. So not really buying into the Marco Gonzalez good start from last game against Houston. And Texas projects pretty well against left-handed pitching. They've got some good big right-handed bats. Adolis Garcia, Mitch Garver in the middle of that lineup. Marcus Semien started slow, but you expect him to figure out some form at some point. And I really like Taylor Hearn, the left-hander who's pitching for Texas. I think he might be their best starter. When you look at Stuff Plus, which is Eno Saris of the Athletics model, they like him at 96, so a little below average, but he locates the ball really well. 112 Stuff Plus in location with 100 being average. His walk rate has gone down every year he's been in the majors. So I'm impressed by what I've seen from Hearn early in the season thus far, and Seattle just 16th against lefties in weighted runs created plus. So I'm going to ride the Rangers on the road to avoid the sweep and get a win here.
So, just to follow up briefly on your pick, you make a note that it's a team trying, and look, the Rangers are no great team in baseball, but it's all about spots, right? Like you're looking to pick a team here that's avoiding a sweep. Is this sometimes where you're into a team that's probably not one of the top, better half teams in baseball? Is this a spot kind of pick as well? Never mind the fact that you don't like the pitcher going for Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, Texas was built on its bats, and their bats haven't really hit to this point in the season. They're 2-9. They've had a couple of good explosive games. They have the famous 12 runs outburst against Toronto, but this lineup has not really produced at the level you'd expect it to, and that really starts at the top with Simeon and Seager, who are both underperforming at this point, the two new signings they added. And I just, they were a 73-win team in the projection models, and they're 2-9, and there's always teams who are just going to run way under their numbers by the end of the year, and early season indications look like Arizona, maybe one of them again, but Texas is a team that I just expect to at some point have a good run here, and I'm not quite selling all of my Texas stock that I had preseason. Even if I don't like their pitching as a whole, I do like Hearn, so these are the spots I'm looking to back them.
We have folks in the YouTube chat chiming in. We encourage you to do so throughout the show. OTG has chimed in. He likes the Rangers' first 5 getting a half run. Is that too bold, or do you prefer a full game? I mean, in this case,
yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with. I mean, he's avoiding the Texas bullpen, which has not inspired through this point in the season. They've been pretty much a dumpster fire. So I don't hate isolating starting pitching matchups. In fact, you'll see I play more F5s, especially as we get towards, these getaway days where teams have played 3-4 days in a row. The bullpens tend to get worn out, and you see that hitters get the advantage as they see these same bullpen arms over and over again. So I don't hate the idea of isolating just the first 5 innings either.
Okay, moving on. We have a 10-game slate today, and one of the marquee matchups on the slate, Orioles, A's. I mean, come on. Get excited. They're going to pack the place in Oakland. Well, it's been like the talk of baseball Twitter is the lack of attendance, and it's a statement by A's fans. We won't get too involved in that, but we bring them up because, well, a lot of folks are into the A's today. The A's are getting the backing in the betting market. So they might not be getting the attendance, but man, according to the Action Network app, the biggest public side today is the A's with 91% of the bets, 95% of the money. Talking run line here. So I ask you is the public on the right side today, or should we be fading the A's against the lowly Orioles, who are 4-8 out of the gate here, BJ Cunningham?
I do think we should be fading the A's because you have Tyler Wells versus Paul Blackburn. I don't really have much separating these two starting pitchers. I mean, if anything, I have Wells projected slightly better than Blackburn. I mean, Wells isn't probably going to pitch very long. He's predominantly pitched out of the bullpen last year. He had a good start against the Yankees, went 4 innings of shutout ball. He's probably just going to face the lineup twice, and then they'll get into the bullpen, which is rested. They haven't been taxed too hard during this entire series. And I understand that Paul Blackburn has had 2 good starts to the season, but this is a guy who had a 5.5 xERA in 9 starts last year. His home run per 9 rate was all the way up at 1.9. He has a 4-pitch arsenal. He's mainly a sinker ball and cutter were his main 2 pitches last year. Well, the Orioles actually had a plus 11 run value combined against those 2 pitches. And they have one guy in the lineup, if you will get to props in a second, but one of my other favorite props is Roman Urias is one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball against sinkers. He had like a plus 16 run value against them last year. So I'm betting Urias over to get a single, to get a double. But from a projection standpoint, I mean, I have the Orioles projected as a slight favorite here. Oakland has been hitting the ball okay, but really not that great, only 288 weighted on base average. The Orioles offense has been atrocious, but there is some talent in that lineup with guys like Cedric Mullins and Trey Mancini, Ryan Mountcastle. So I'm not expecting the Orioles lineup to be this bad for this long. So I actually think there is some value on the Orioles at plus 105 as slight underdogs in Oakland, given that there's really not much to separate these 2 starting pitchers. And the Orioles lineup, I believe, over the long run is going to be a little bit better than Oakland's.
The A's run differential through 13 games is plus 14. Through 12 games for Baltimore, it is minus 13. Dabbundo, are you leaning on BJ's side to the Orioles? Are you fading the public?
Yeah, I lean that way. I just really like Wells. Tyler Wells, he's got pretty good stuff, and I understand the command has been a major issue, and that's really the one thing that keeps me off of this. We've got 2 bad offenses. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat and tell you why Oakland or Baltimore have good offenses. And so a lot of times it comes down to command and not giving away free bases and making these lineups earn their hits. And Blackburn is going to command the ball well. That's the one thing that Oakland has prioritized with their entire pitching staff. besides Frankie Montas, they have a lot of starters who don't have great stuff, who don't have good velocity, but who command the ball well. And they don't give out free passes. They make you earn your hits. And so Baltimore isn't going to get free passes, and I'm concerned that Wells may walk a bunch of Oakland hitters. I know he had 4 shutout against New York, but there were a lot of people on the bases in those 4 innings, and then the rain delay knocked him out. So I like Wells as a big underdog, but this is a number is probably going to end up being a stay away from me this game overall. I lean toward the under again, but at 7.5, there's not a ton of wiggle room if Wells does start putting all these guys on the base paths.
Yeah, and look, Blackburn's gone 5 innings in each of his 2 starts. He's got 10 strikeouts over those starts, and he's also getting a lot of ground balls out of the gate. So we'll see. Want to remind all of you again that are tuning in, if you're just joining us here on Payoff Pitch, we've got you on the Action Network YouTube channel. We are doing a special contest today. In the chat, simply choose one player today that is going to hit a home run. And the first person to correctly pick a dinger will win $50 courtesy of the Action Network. Only one guess per person, so please don't spam the chat. Save us that horrible thing that can happen in these chats. But we see some of you already chiming in. Vlad Jr., Fernando, OTG. OTG got in there first, so we'll leave that up to decide. T3 likes Juan Soto. Brandon Belt, says Adam. All right, well, we've got those. We're taking notes. We're taking notes. So again, if you're just tuning in, pick a player to hit a home run today, and we will mark it down. And the first person to get one right in this large afternoon slate, some night games as well, but the first one to get it right, you will be awarded $50 courtesy of the Action Network. It's another way for us to remind you, talking Orioles and A's, the public side is Oakland, and it's great. You get this great feature on the Action Network app, the pro account in the Action app. It gives you a great opportunity to figure out where everyone's leaning, where the money's going, and it makes you decide, do I want to fade the public? Do I want to get involved on the other side, just like these guys are going to do today with the Orioles? It sounds like, according to our pro model, and we're talking props now here on the show, the best prop on the board in baseball today, Zach Greinke, who is back with his Royals. Our pro line gives Greinke 4.8 projected strikeouts. That's good for a 25.5% edge. BJ, you agree with this? You agree with our folks over at Action that have this signal pointing to Greinke?
Yeah, why not? I mean, the guys had 1 strikeout in 11 innings. So, I mean, why not bet some little strikeout regression here for Greinke? If we, to project these type of strikeout props, that really what you have to do is take the K percentage times his average batter's face. So really what they're doing is they're taking it for his career. Well, even if we go back to last season where he was way down on his strikeouts, he only had about a 17% K percentage, but he did average facing about 23 batters a start. So if you take those multiplied by each other, you still get around 3.9 strikeouts. So at over 3.5 strikeouts at a price of plus 135, you are getting a ton of value on Zach Greinke against the Twins lineup that so far this season has the 5th highest K percentage against right-handed pitching. It is a small sample size, but the Twins, keep this in mind, people, they have a minus 15 run value against sliders this year. And Greinke does have a slider in his arsenal. He only throws it about 16% of the time, but Zach Greinke is an old crafty vet who can mix and match his pitch arsenal whenever he really wants to. So expect to see a lot of sliders from Greinke today. So yeah, why not bet on a guy who only has 1 strikeout in 11 innings? So give me Greinke over 3.5 strikeouts at plus 135.
The Twins are sliding a bit too. They've lost 4 of their last 5, not putting up many runs. They got shut out by the Red Sox. They did score 8 against the Red Sox the other day, but they've lost the first 2 in this series. How about you, Dabbundo? You feeling Zach Greinke today, who has only 1 strikeout through 2 starts this season?
Yeah, I'm not betting the Greinke over. I can't get there. But okay. I am betting the Pablo Lopez under for Miami. Under 5.5 strikeouts, minus 115 is out there. Cardinals not striking out this year. They are the lowest K rate in all of baseball, especially against right-handed pitching, just 16.7%. That's a full 1.5% lower than every other team in all of baseball. Nolan Arenado, a guy who probably strikes out more than he should, has not been striking out this year. He has been dialed in at the plate, one of the best hitters in baseball thus far. Paul Goldschmidt also putting a lot of balls in play. So I like this Cardinals lineup against Lopez to put some balls in play and avoid strikeouts. I prefer to bet on the Cardinals when they're facing a lefty, so no play on the game for me, but they have not been striking out, and they do hit changeups well, which is Pablo's best pitch. So I'm going to go under 5.5 on Pablo K's.
Very good. My chimes in the YouTube chat. Greinke is like 50 years old, LOL. The real K prop is Joe Ryan, man. Over 4.5. Hammer that.
Love Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
I'll be talking Joe Ryan in a little bit.
Well, BJ, hey, age is just a number. And like you said, he's pretty crafty there, Zach Greinke. Do you have any pushback on that despite his age?
I mean, listen, it's just strikeout regression. Do we really? I understand he's 38 years old, but do we really believe that Zach Greinke is only going to strike out essentially 1 or 2 batters over 20 innings? I mean, it's kind of absurd to think about. I mean, he's not a good pitcher by any stretch at this type of age, but if you're facing a lineup that strikes out at incredibly high rates, like we're going to have some sort of regression at some point for Greinke.
We will take your feedback in the chat, comments, questions, concerns, also some of your picks today. Do want to circle back to A's Orioles because OTG has chimed in on Blackburn's strikeout number at 3.5. It is at -105. He suspects that seems a little low, and I know both of you are into the Orioles today in terms of pushing back on the actual result of the game. But how do we feel about Blackburn's strikeout number? He is on the mound today for Oakland. He had 3 in his last start against Toronto, had 7 in his first start against the Tampa Bay Rays. Either of you have a thought on this?
Yeah, I mean, the Orioles have the highest strikeout percentage, I believe, so far in Major League Baseball at about 27%. Blackburn's not a high K per 9 guy. He usually sits around 6.5 for his career. So I'd have to go back and do some math. It does seem a tad low. I'm sure that Oakland will ride him. They're not going to just yank him after 5 innings. So I don't hate over 3.5 strikeouts at -105. It is a tad low.
Our Action Labs projects it at 4.4. It's the second most popular play according to our model on the board behind the Greinke over. So definitely looks like some value on the Blackburn over. And I don't hate it either. I mean, the Orioles last year didn't hit righties either. I loved betting the Orioles against left-handed pitching, but they were 28th or 29th in WRC plus against righties and struck out a ton. So yeah, definitely. And the way Mullins is seeing the ball right now, he has not been hitting well. So if you're taking their best hitters, Mancini, Mullins, who have been striking out a ton, and then you get to the bottom of the lineup, which is already, one of the worst in baseball, then, I don't dislike that either.
All right, very good. And again, we encourage you to get involved with the Action Network app, get one of those pro accounts, and you can find out things about Zach Greinke and why at 38 years old he can get that slider working today and weave it by hitters. And you can follow BJ Cunningham and his prop. Pablo Lopez under is Anthony's pick, under 5.5 strikeouts. Greinke strikeout total at 3.5 today. On whatever book you choose. So moving on, and one more reminder, we're going to get to BJ and Anthony's picks for how they feel about the home run ball. But get involved in the chat, please. We want you to pick a player that is going to go yard today. Pick a player that will hit a home run, and the first person to correctly pick a dinger wins $50, courtesy of the Action Network. Now, BJ and Anthony, you are not eligible to win the $50. I hate to tell you.
Damn.
Yeah, sorry. We're taking submissions in the chat. First person again to correctly pick will win $50. BJ and Anthony, you're both not eligible. But please, we would like to avoid insider trade allegations here. But we're interested in your picks. And someone in here, BJ, is into Juan Soto. Someone did pick Juan Soto. I should get the name there. Is T3 is on Juan Soto. So are you. Why do you feel it's a good day for Juan Soto to go yard?
Yeah, I know it sounds chalky, but from a price standpoint, I mean, he's plus 425 at DraftKings to hit a home run, which is kind of crazy that he is not the favorite of anybody from either team to hit a home run in this one. He's actually like 4th or 5th on the board. I mean, he's facing, like I already mentioned, he's facing Zach Davies, who has not been good over the last few years, about a 6.3 expected ERA last year. And I understand Soto's been struggling this season, but a lot of those struggles have come against left-handed pitching. 21 of his 62 at-bats have come against lefties, and he only has 1 hit. But against righties, he's already hit 3 home runs and has over 500 weighted on base average. And for his career, almost 70% of his home runs have came against righties. So really, his struggles have only came against lefties. And even, if over his career, he hasn't hit sinkers and changeups that well. I mean, the last 2 seasons, he has only 7 home runs against those 2 pitches. But SaberSim is projecting him for 0.25 home runs today, essentially giving him a 25% chance to hit one. The implied odds on plus 425 is 19.05%. So as crazy as it sounds, you're actually getting some value on Soto to hit a home run today, against a pitcher who's already given up 2 home runs in his first 2 starts and had a 1.5 home run per 9 rate last year. So I actually think there's value on Soto to go yard today. So I agree with whoever that was in the chat. I'm going with Soto at plus 425.
T3. It also it suits your agenda too for an over today for Juan Soto to come through with a big hit, potentially with guys on base as well, and that would help you. Dabbundo, as Alon chimes in, he likes Lindor. Again, we'll try to read off most of your comments here as the show continues. Dabbundo, how about you? Again, you're not winning $50, so stop whining and tell us who's going yard.
Maybe I'll have to put a little bet in on Luis Robert to hit a home run. You look at his numbers, you're like, oh, he's hitting 170, he's slugging 350, he's really struggling. But he's not walking or striking out. I like that for home run guys. I had Soto the other day, and he got walked on 8 pitches and didn't see a strike. Hard to hit a home run when you don't get pitched to, which is my fear because I have a Soto ticket to lead the league in homers. It's not looking great so far. But getting back to Robert, his expected slugging is .700, 700. That's double his actual slugging percentage, and his xWOBA is 4.26. His barrel rate is up 2% over last year. His hard hit rate is up a little bit over last year. So he's hitting the ball hard. He's hitting the ball well. And I think I'm going to back him at plus 360 to finally get some positive regression to the plate and hit one over the fence against Cleveland and the Guardians and Zach Plesac.
Very good. Groovy's into it. Groovy has Luis Robert as well going yard. Alon got involved. Pete Alonso is another name here. Matt responds to some folks in the chat from earlier. He feels the Red Sox will be walking Vlad Jr. in this game. That's possible, I suppose. I'm curious to see how Vlad hits against Tanner Houck and his really nasty pitches that move from right to left over the plate. I'm really curious to see how that looks today. Miguel Cabrera. Johnny shouts out Miguel Cabrera. His 3,000th hit will be a home run. Why not? Very good. Eloy Jimenez. Okay. Very good. Again, our folks behind the scenes are keeping track here. First person, though, who chimed in, and whoever goes yard, if someone goes yard, they're getting the $50. So we thank you all for joining us. Be sure to download the Action Network app to get the rest of BJ and Anthony's picks for the rest of the day, as well as our other MLB analysts. Colin Whitchurch was here in the chat moments ago. Sean Zerillo is a friendly member of the program as well. Sean's doing other cool things today with MLB Network, so he couldn't join us.
He big-timed us.
Yeah.
Let's just say he big-timed us.
Big time. And you know what? Giving him a little plug there, so maybe he'll consider to not join us next time.
Do his job with this company. Yeah.
Good job, BJ. Good job.
I got
Before
the
we
call
go, we're going to go around the diamond. All right, enough of making fun of Zerillo. We're going to go around the diamond. One more pick from each of you, and please give it to us in just a couple sentences, as short as in the amount of time a double play would take, maybe a triple play. BJ, what do you got for us? Last pick.
Twins Royals over 8 runs. Zach Greinke and Joe Ryan over 4.5 ERA projected type guys. 2 offenses that are due for a little bit of positive regression at about 8.7 runs projected. So this has been a really slow double play, but I do like over 8 runs in that game.
All right, Anthony, take us home.
I'm going to stay in the same game. I'm going to go with my guy, Joe Ryan, who I actually like more than BJ does. I'm going to take the Twins to win this game. And on the money line, minus 125, minus 130. Byron Buxton back in the lineup, and like the way that this Twins lineup projects against Greinke, who, as the person in the chat mentioned, I think is quite a bit overvalued at this point in his career.
All right, maybe Buxton gives that lineup a boost. They have struggled as of late, that is for sure. That is going to do it for this version of Payoff Pitch on this Thursday, April 21st. Again, thanks to all of you getting involved in the chat for the home run contest. Good luck. We'll see how it plays out. A lot of afternoon baseball for BJ Cunningham, Anthony Dabbundo, Brendan Glasheen. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch you next time, and thanks for watching Payoff Pitch.